Yeah, good. We'll take questions for Coach Glenn. Chad?
Coach, offensively, the run game, I think, accomplished what it wanted to accomplish last year. What's the next step? Quarterback, obviously, but what's the next step in getting that passing game to match what you were able to do in the run game a season ago?
Yeah, obviously, really good in the run game. You know, sad part about that, doesn't score points. We've got to score points, period. You know, 23, I forget what we average, 23, 24 a game. You know, it's not going to get it done. Obviously, we want to run the ball, and I think that's where it starts, you know, with Coach Satterfield and our staff. And, you know, that's the team makeup. They know we have to run the football effectively to win. But at the end of the day, you got to score points. You got to be good on third down. You got to be good in the red zone. You can't give up sacks. You got to connect when people are open. You know, all things that we need to improve on from last year. So that's just that next step. You know, and obviously bringing in pieces of the puzzle, you know, making your roster better, which I feel like we did a really good job of this year, will help that out tremendously. But we just got to be efficient and take advantage of each one of our possessions by putting the ball in the end zone.
The second running back position last year was a significant role in the offense with Miles and Ryan Montgomery. With Evan and Chance, how are they coming along, and what are you kind of looking at that second running back position?
You know, good, and I think if you probably pinpoint one spot that's kind of got a lot of hidden importance, it's that second, you know, running back spot, whoever that may be. You know, obviously Corey back, you know, that's tremendous for us to have him back, that experience, a guy that has handled the load and been successful. But that number 2 spot is important, and we got to find that, you know, early on in camp, you know, and we've got several guys, talented guys vying for that spot, and they've all shown signs, you know, throughout spring ball and throughout the summer and how they've worked, but you really don't know, you know, until you get into the battles, the heat of the battle, and so that'll be a point of emphasis on us in fall camp.
Fans know about Xavier Henderson, the receiving leader. Tony Tyron, they've got some big catches at other places and all that. Do you see settling on 3-4 guys, or is this going to be like hockey line changes with all the?
You know, I think it's always good to have a good number, and I think we do in the receiver room right now. You know, we've got several guys, you know, that you guys don't even know about that can be a factor, you know, in this upcoming year. But you can't replicate experience, you know, and that's what Tyron and Tony and Aaron Turner brings to the table. So those guys, you know, will get significant playing time, you feel like. And, you know, you look at what Barry Jackson did last year when he got his, you know, few reps, in-game reps. You know, we just feel like he can build off that. We've got to get him, you know, the ball in certain situations because he's definitely explosive. And you got to get him a certain number of touches. But we feel like it's a great room there. They all worked hard. They're all really consistent. So there's several guys that could see themselves in the mix.
You talk about the running game being really good last season. How beneficial is it for you to have all 5 offensive linemen returning this season to run the football?
Yeah, I think you could ask any coach in the country, you know, that question. They would all love to have that kind of experience coming back like we do. And especially with the type of offensive we run, you know, everything runs through the running game and our O-line, but just have that chemistry and that camaraderie back, I mean, gives us a huge plus. And then when you couple that with Corey and the experience that he has, you know, it's definitely a security blanket for all of us.
Similar question, with the O-line returning intact, how does that impact you in training camp in terms of maybe there are things you don't even have to worry about teaching or whatever, because all these guys have been through it together?
Well, I think what it does probably first and foremost is now you can focus a little bit more on the 2s and the 3s and give them some more reps, because you know those guys, you know, those 5 guys, maybe 6 guys that had tons of reps, tons of experience last year. You just kind of have to keep those guys fine-tuned, you know, so you can focus a little bit more on your depth at that position, and that's a huge plus.
Coach Satterfield mentioned the improved tight end room this year to
Yeah.
be probably the most experienced and improved room on the team. How do you plan to utilize those skill sets within your offense to take it to the next level?
We'll definitely mismatches with those guys. And you know, in our tight end, it's kind of a, you know, for lack of a better term, a positionless tight end. They all can do a bunch of different things. They can play your traditional H-back. They can play an inline tight end. They can play a fullback spot. You can split them out wide and use them in mismatches in the passing game. So to bring in, you know, Joe Royer, a guy that's got experience, that fits that mold, can do all of those things. Francis Sherman, you know, we got several. Joey Belgian, Zahersky from last year. Brought in a freshman, Gavin Grover, who fits that to a T, you know, and has a tremendous future ahead of him. But to have that many guys in the room that can do multiple things like that, big advantage for us. And you know, you get back to the red zone targets, low red zone. We struggled in the red zone last year. Having those guys to be able to be viable options down in the red zone will be a huge help in that department.
You touched on it there, but the red zone efficiency,
Yeah.
how do you, besides the tight end position, how do you become more successful in that and practice that throughout camp so you're ready for week one?
Well, you know, we had a lot of explosives in the running game last year. But we didn't finish. You know, been a huge emphasis with Corey and the backs, finishing those runs. You know, breaking tackles. When you know, there's two huge things on offense. When you take care of the football, when you don't turn it over, and then you win the explosive play battle, you know, you win 90% of the time, maybe 92, 94% of the time. If you just do those two things and nothing else. So we got to finish off explosive runs with scores, and then we've got to get creative, probably a little more creative with what we do, especially in the low red zone. It's kind of been a point of focus for our staff, you know, in the off season. Getting tight ends more involved, doing different things, you know, from a formation standpoint. But we've put a lot of thought, you know, into that because it was such a struggle for us last year.
What's the key to this offense opening up the middle of the field? It felt like that was an area that you guys didn't really get the chance for whatever reason to explore much. How key is that, and what's the plan of attack to open it up?
You know, we've got to do it with the things we call and the certain concepts that we run. We got to make sure we're hitting on all areas, but usually that's the last spot for a quarterback to get comfortable with. You know, just from a common sense standpoint, it's because there's more bodies in there. You know, quarterbacks feel real comfortable working on the edges, and that's what we did a lot last year. So having that growth at the quarterback position should open up that area of the field a little bit more for us.
It seems every day, Coach, we open up our email, we have a new watch list or award that Luke Andra is up for. In fact, we just got one that is on the Outland watch list. Easy question to ask, maybe hard to answer. How good is Luke Andra?
Number one, experience. Just the number of reps he has in all the different game-like situations. You know, you cannot replicate that. And then his skill set, you know, what he can do, obviously in the run game, and then pass protection, you know, being able to do that. I mean, he's a complete lineman. You know, he doesn't just excel in one spot, you know, whether it be run game, pass game, whatever. He's complete where he can do both. You can count on him doing both. And then just his leadership, you know, up front for the O-line, and then for our offense, and then for our team. You know, all those things. He brings a lot of value, you know, to us. So, answer your question, very good player. Glad we've got him. Bright future ahead, you know.
You ever tried to put on his sport coat?
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
With Coach by making a lateral move from Iowa State to Cincinnati, have you had conversations with him this offseason about how to attack and exploit the best defenses like Iowa State?
We did, you know, and it's different. You know, structurally, it's different. You know, you put defenses into categories, you know, and you go through and you look at the structure of this defense, well, what category can you put it in? You know, it kind of stands alone. So as an offensive coach and offensive staff, you know, we've had discussions, you know, what's the intent of that structure? What are they trying to take away? What are the soft spots? What do they give you? So we've definitely had that, because you're going to see more and more people, you know, go to the 3 safety look because it's different. It looks different to the quarterback. I think one thing we need to do, you know, from an offensive standpoint, if we can get up on people early, you know, and take an early, you know, 2-score, 17-point lead, I think that plays into our defense, into that structure's hands, because when that defense knows that you're throwing the ball, it is very tough to complete passes on it. So we're gonna play off that without question.
Any other questions for Coach? Dan, final question?
I'll just, belt it out with no mic. Evan Prader missed spring football. What are your hopes and expectations for him in his second year as a wide receiver?
And we're trying to keep him healthy and where he can get a string of practices, you know, under his belt. It seems like there's always been something, and a lot of times it's little nitpicky things, you know, that's happened to him where he can't get, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 practices under his belt in a row without something happening. But obviously we know what Evan means to our team and to our locker room. You know, undoubtedly one of our leaders of this group. But he just needs to stay healthy where he can get that reps, because, you know, we talked about it last year early on. He took to the position very smoothly. You know, it wasn't just a huge transition for him. He had great ball skills. He understood how to get open. He just needs to stay healthy so he can get some days, to stack some days under his belt.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.